You know what, Jamie? Let's pop off right now. We got to get started.
We got to go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get the people in the chat. Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flamong, and here with me is Jamie Ueyama, Mr. Jamie University, and Mike Frank, following Notre Dame's big 58-7 victory over the Fighting Pat Narduzzi's. It wasn't one of those wasn't one of the tough ones, Jamie. Jamie, what did you say? Is it now 103-10 in the last two games against Pitt? The 2020
well, the last game was 45-3, right? So
so it's 103-10. So that's
or
not a good job.
101-10, yeah.
101. Okay, 101-10. Not a great job by the Fighting Pat Narduzzi's. No, it's 103. 58 plus 45. Do I not know how?
I was thinking about 4. I think it was. I don't know. I was thinking because of the 3 or something. Yeah,
got you. It's all good. Either way, it's not a good thing for Pat Narduzzi there.
Don't ask Yama to do math. Just don't.
So it's not a good job by Narduzzi and the Pitt Panthers. Completely overwhelmed by Notre Dame defensively, which really broke them. And then Notre Dame was able to break it open in the second half. They were riding on the back of Chris Tyree in the first half. He had an out-of-body experience on that punt return. A guy who isn't known for breaking tackles broke a ton of tackles. So we're going to break down the game. We're going to get to all that. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If this is your first time catching one of our post-game shows and you haven't done so already, please like the show. That does us. That really helps us out. Also, subscribe and hit the like button so that you know whenever we're going live or we're posting something. We're posting something new. If you want to catch the podcast of the show, links to that are in the description below. So things didn't look good for Pittsburgh today, but if you want to look good and you're out on the town like I was yesterday and you want to impress your friends, then look to upgrade your wardrobe with ESQ Clothing, which has created the world's first bamboo dress shirt, crafted from high-quality bamboo fabric. It's the softest and most comfortable shirt you'll ever put on. Not only more sustainable than cotton, it also feels cooler, has stretch, is odor and wrinkle-resistant, and it's even machine washable. You've seen ESQ's one-piece collar bamboo dress shirt on all of Notre Dame's top players and coaches. It's the perfect shirt for today's business meeting or heading for a night out. Use ISD 15 and get 15% off all online items. That's ISD 15 for 15% off. Notre Dame with 535 total yards. Pitt with 255 on 51 snaps. 5 yards per play for Pitt. 8.2 yards per play for Notre Dame. Mike, how impressed were you with the defense again? It's turning into an all-timer. You know,
it's amazing.
We compare teams a lot, the 2012, 2018 units. We're going to have to start breaking out some stats pretty soon because this is a very, very good unit.
You know, the thing that stands out the most to me is they're just very consistent. You know, they don't have like the bad game or you know, there are games where they maybe don't play quite as well as another, but then they give up 13 points, you know. So it's just such a well-coached, disciplined team. And I think, you know, some of it's veteran, some of it's having a defensive coordinator for the second year in a row, which is a nice thing. You know, and the linebackers having the same guy kind of talking to him for a couple of years in a row. So that's kind of a nice situation. But defensively, I mean, I'm glad that at the end of the game, what you saw was Garrett give, you know, the interior guys, meaning Riley Mills and Howard Cross, they're you know, comeuppance, because those two guys are really what is causing a lot of these interceptions, a lot of these plays, because that upfield pressure, you can't step into the football, you can't see very well, and guys are just chucking it up there because they know they're gonna get hit, and so there's a lot of really easy picks that are out there for the DBs. And it's because of that great interior pass rush. And they've done such a great job, both those guys. And I just think for the whole day, it was just an outstanding performance. And never once did you ever feel like Pitt had them on any sort of, on the back of their heels or any in any way. They were basically in jail the entire game. And so Al Golden has done such a tremendous job. But again, I think it's so much of the D line is playing so well, and then your linebackers are playing very sound and solid as well. And then, of course, the secondary is just picking off play or balls left and right. And so, very impressive. I couldn't be more pleased with what I saw defensively, and not just this game. It's just a consistency, and it's rare, I think, where you find a defense play as consistently well as they have all season long. And, they haven't lost a game because of the defense. That's for darn sure. And it's just been very impressive to see.
Jamie, what about 4 interceptions for Notre Dame today? So that's obviously going to win a lot of football games. But what have you seen from, Al Golden? I mean, we've talked about it a ton with USC, but what did you see from him today? Get so many different looks, and I feel like that's such a problem for a team like Pitt. Can't really they're a young quarterback, right? Inexperienced, and you give him so many different looks. They came from so many different players. A couple of those interceptions, it's where he's just kind of throwing it to a spot where he thinks someone's going to be open, and they're just not open. What do you think of that sort of performance from Al Golden today, and what we've seen throughout the whole year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's doing a great job. I think what they're doing right now is that they have the confidence in the corners. It's incredible because, you lose Benjamin Borison. Cam Hart is out early in the game. And then your third and fourth corners are making big plays out there.
Yeah.
You just don't, it's not unexpected. I think for people that really follow the team and know them well, that Notre Dame's like deep at the position. But still, outside of like the one drive where like, oh, they're really picking on Jaden Mickey here, where they could have had him on the one, double move. Like, what did you see from the corners today that was like, this is a drop off? Like there was,
you wouldn't know. If you were Pitt, tuning in, it's like, who are these guys? Like they look legit.
Yeah. And, and when you have that, you can play so much more man coverage, and and then when you do that, you can do so much more with your pressure stuff. And obviously, I will say too, like, just shout out to the defensive line too, because they do such a much better job. And it's gone better and better as the season's gone on with like the stunts, just keeping them tight and just running it. And like that really makes a huge difference in addition to kind of guys winning individual battles. But you got to shout out like guys like JD Bertrand and Maris Leofeld too for just timing up the blitzes. Like they were just so on point of just that was the thing before where people complained about Notre Dame blitzing from depth, and it was because the guys weren't ready. They weren't prepared at the snap to blitz. And now that just has not been a problem, and they've absolutely affected the quarterback. And it was the right move to pressure so much in this game because, they had a true freshman at right guard. This is their third left tackle. This guy was playing right tackle the week before, right? So their left tackle is an NFL prospect, but he hasn't played since like early in the season. And then the right tackle had only played 29 snaps before this game, 20 of them against Wofford. So they were going to be totally overmatched in this game. And then even the other guys that they have aren't that good. So they were totally overmatched from the start. And they tried to do some things. Pitt tried to do some things of just like get the ball out quick, just some slants, just some like quick outs and stuff like that. But that also like got them off the field early too, because you can't take 3 yards a pop on like little out routes and try to move the ball. And then any kind of one mistake where it's a negative play and it's like, they're screwed. Then they have to take a longer time to let the play develop, and they couldn't protect. They couldn't protect at all. So, obviously Golden did a great job in this game, but you just see so much from it's really just all three levels of the defense, right? There really isn't a weak point. on the defense right now. And I would say too, because when you see like, great to see Adon Schuler get in at the end of the game and like get a little bit of action, and you know, he made a nice play on a stretch play, but he also got beat bad on the one play action because he was biting so hard. And that's the kind of thing where you really notice where just how well a guy like X Watts is playing, where when it is run, he is screaming downhill and making plays there. But when it's not, when it's play, he is so disciplined, and that's what gets him into position to make plays. Man, X Watts just like, wow. I mean, right now you'd have to say he's a pretty heavy favorite to be an All-American, which is just insane. Which is just insane.
I mean, first team All-American. I mean, he leads the NCAA or tied for the NCAA in interceptions. I mean,
yeah, just an incredible year, but it's really just like at so many different levels, and he's getting better, which is scary, which is very scary.
Good tackler too. You know, he does a really good job. So it's crazy because, guys, when I was sitting there thinking, I think probably a lot of us thought maybe about halfway through the season, we're probably going to get a bunch of these guys back. I'm not so sure now, you know. So, you know, I thought, well, we'll probably get Riley Mills back. Maybe there's a chance with Howard Cross and the X Watts and, you know, some of these other players that you'd love to have back. But I don't know, man. They're playing at such a high level now that it's just, you have to wonder whether any of these guys are going to come back. And you know, it's a credit to them. It's also a credit to Notre Dame's coaching staff for coaching these guys up. They've done a tremendous job. There's no question about it. So I'd hate to lose them, but hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But it's just amazing to think about how many of these guys have kind of risen their game to such a level that now they could be gone. And again, credit to them, but also Notre Dame's coaching staff. They've done a really good job of coaching those guys up. So that's very impressive.
Thank you to Caleb Collins for the super chat. Al Golden is him. Can't be more impressed with what he's done at Notre Dame in this year. I mean, like I said, they came in fourth in passing efficiency defense, came away with 4 interceptions today. I can't imagine that number is going to get worse. So, you know, they're probably going to rise in that. CFB Hertz with the super chat, $7.58. That's very clever. Guys, can we have a moment of silence for Pat Narduzzi and Phil Dracovic? This has been a rough day for them. We're monitoring the Instagram situation. So no more chances, unfortunately. No more chances for Phil. That's he's had his moment. It feels odd to kind of talk about the offense in something of a negative light, given the fact that they had 535 yards of offense, over 8 yards of play, over 10 yards per attempt in the passing game. But in the first half, they scuffled in the first half, right? I mean, there's no other way to see it. They were set up in a really good situation. Obviously, they scored the first touchdown on the Chris Tyree kickoff punt return, and then they had a couple of long drives through interceptions by Sam Hartman, and then got stopped on downs on another one. Mike, what did you make of kind of that first half? What did you think? It's like, this is what the issue is for Notre Dame in that situation.
It's been a frustrating thing to watch. It really has been. And I think that Parker came out and had some good ideas and ran some good things. And that's why Notre Dame was having success moving the football. I think Sam Hartman made some bad decisions that cost them in the first half. But the other thing is, you know, the thing that kind of drives me nuts about it, and Yaman and I've talked about it on Power Hour, is, okay, so we're running perimeter stuff, right? All right. So now all of a sudden Pitt is going to adjust because you're running so much perimeter. So then go vertical. And we just didn't see that for a while. And I think that was kind of one of those things that was a little bit frustrating. I don't know. It's crazy because Sam Hartman just hasn't had like a great game for a while. He's had some great moments and he's had some great throws, but he hasn't had a really great game. And of course, you couldn't really say this one is either. You know, as far as his stats were okay as far as passing goes and numbers, but no touchdowns. That if my memory serves, I didn't throw one.
No, he did not.
Run
he did
one.
not throw. He did not throw a touchdown today.
Yeah. So or run one. So serviceable, I guess, is what you would call it. But I don't know. I will say I was very impressed with Steve Angeli again. Every time Angeli gets in, he doesn't look overwhelmed. He manages the situation. And Yama, the thing that stood out to me too is he gets the ball out quick. That's something that we were hoping to see get better with him, and the ball was coming out real quick today. And I'm sure they're going to look at a portal quarterback, but that I would not say that person's definitely going to start. I think Angeli really has surprised me in how well he's played when given the opportunity, and I'm very excited about it. Yeah, I think his accuracy is getting better, and he just seems to know what to do with the football at all times. So really like it.
Yeah, just to before we go to Jamie, there, I'll just Angeli's stats: 6 to 7, 92 yards, and 1 touchdown. So
beautiful throw too. Yeah, that's not an easy throw either.
No, across his body. It was really good.
Yeah, just the accuracy, really, like just getting the ball on time, accurate. You get the feeling that, and I think it's not something that isn't crazy to consider, because he's obviously a guy who's won a lot in high school, right? Like he won a lot of football games in high school. He's obviously a very competitive kid. Like he's not going to lay down. If I have a feeling that he would be the type of guy who looks to get out, even if they did bring a quarterback like right away, at least. Like he's the guy who would be like, I think I can win the job, right?
Yeah.
And
well, I'll tell you this, he can start somewhere. I guarantee he can.
And if you come out and you have a game like that, like just how this, when you take advantage of your opportunities like this, like that matters. Like because not to just dunk on Phil Dracovic again, but like every single time that he ever came in those situations, he didn't really look good. Like he never looked the part where you're like, man, maybe they ought to consider giving him a shot next week. It was never that point, and it's not like you're doing that with Angeli right now, but definitely you're in every time you've seen Angeli, he's looked better. And looked impressive. And that's a great thing. I mean, I thought that touchdown throw to Flanagan was, that is just perfect touch, rolling to your left, like really, really great throw.
They got to get JD Price the ball more, man. I'm just telling you, that guy's just waiting to explode. He just really is, and it's tough when you got so many good backs to do that. But I think he's the second best back right now. I think Jeremiah Love's a great player too. Don't get me wrong, but I just think he's got so much potential, and I would love to see them give him a shot. And hopefully we'll see that moving forward. You guys, I'm going to get off here in a second, but before I do, I wanted to mention the games that are left. Now you've got Clemson, and Yaman and I talked about on Power Hour. Boy, they're definitely going to be coaching for their jobs now. If you go 7-5 with this team, and there's those guys are going to be coaching for their jobs. So I know a lot of people thought, well, that's great that Clemson lost, and I'm not sure it is a good thing that Clemson lost, because again, they're going to want to save their season and their jobs. And so it's going to be very, very important to that staff to do a good job in this game. And so that's going to be interesting. We'll see. I watched Wake today. They're nobody to get worried about. I'm about ready to watch Stanford here when I get a chance and get an idea. But I don't know. The rest of the way, it certainly looks winnable. Clemson does not have a great offense. So, without, that and the way Notre Dame's defense is playing, I think it's going to be hard for Clemson to beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's going to have to protect the ball. You're not going to be able to turn it over and things like that. But just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I really don't think that Notre Dame should lose any of these games.
No.
I think it would be a severe disappointment if they lost any of these games now. And I will say, like, they had to have been already feeling the pressure. Clemson staff had to be already feeling the pressure after last week. So this is the kind of thing where, remember when we saw Jared Parker after, the second loss of the Louisville game, and he looked like, he hadn't slept one minute. He didn't get a minute of sleep after that when he had his Tuesday media appearance. And I mean, there's no way Garrett Riley's sleeping right now.
Yeah.
There's no way he's sleeping right now. They're just not good. Their
O-line's not very good.
Their O-line's not good.
And the receivers aren't very good.
The receivers aren't good. Obviously, their best guy is hurt. Antonio Williams is hurt. And I think Maffa and Shipley are two pretty good backs, but it's like if you don't have an O-line, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And the defense is good, but
their linebackers are good.
Their linebackers are very good. I think their corners are very good, but it just shows you too their defense. They have to like dominate in a way like even more so than Notre Dame's defense has to dominate in order to get Notre Dame in a position to win, because Notre Dame's offense is better. It's just frankly better, even with all their things that people like to complain about, or which are mostly valid. But like Notre Dame's offense is better. Like Notre Dame is a better team. That game, I would even say now, it's almost a lock to be a noon kick.
Like it is. Yeah. It actually has been announced. It's noon now.
Yeah, so that's a noon kick. So there's not. I had. Like that might be one of those games where it's a sellout, but those games might not show up because they're like, I don't want to watch this. Like, and that is crazy to think of, because that was thought of as like, this is going to be the craziest atmosphere that Notre Dame plays all year. And now it's a noon kick. And I mean, if the stadium's like 3/4 full and a bunch of ND fans bought up some tickets, like I wouldn't be surprised. And like you said, Mike, like Wake is not good. Like they're not good. Their defense is solid, right? Their defense is solid, but they're not good enough to just do anything to help their offense, which their offense stinks. Their O-line stinks, right? And their quarterback's just not even close to good enough, right? So because they got some good wideouts, but they just can't even get the ball to them because the quarterback's just not good enough. And I mean, Stanford sucks. They're not good. They're not good. Like and even then too, like Benjamin Jurasik, who's like probably like the best NFL prospect on everything, he's hurt right now, and maybe he's back for that game. But it's just, I mean, they stink up front. All these teams stink up front, and when Notre Dame has a better D line, a much better D line than the team's offensive line,
it's over.
It's over. Like so the only way I see like them losing is like if Clemson
turnovers
has just like unbelievable game defensively, turnovers, and they have the kind of like special teams impact that Notre Dame just had in this game. But I mean, I just, it's very unlikely to me that happens.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get off. Good to see you, everybody. I've been dominating here. We'll let Greg do his thing. So we'll talk to you guys soon. But it was a great win, man. And this is where Notre Dame needs to be right now, is where they need to just turn it on and continue. I mean, who wouldn't want to play in this defense? You know what I mean? Like if I'm a recruit, I would love to play in a defense like this. So as long as they continue to play the way they are, and you're starting to see some young offensive players, stand out, it's got to help recruiting. And so go beat Clemson, finish out the year, and then let's see what happens in the bowl game. And that's what we got to hope to see here. So thanks, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
All right. Before I get into Clemson and what you just kind of talked about, Jamie, we did get a couple super chats, one from Caleb Collins. Mickey almost had 2 more interceptions, half a second too late. Yeah, I mean, he was jumping it, and they must have seen on tape. I mean, we knew that Pitt was they were getting the ball out quickly. So he must have seen some things on tape, and he was jumping the pass. Finally got one. It was great to see him get a pick six, like truly. I mean, obviously, I think that, I think there's been a lot of excitement around the program, around him. His mom's going through some health struggles right now, so it was great to see her, or great to see him like make a play. Then she got to see that, so that was a very cool, very good moment. Caleb Collins also puts in another super chat. Hates to say for a time like this, but the offense is still average. We're going to get into that in a second. But there was a discussion, Jamie, about USC's down 14. Woo, my goodness. That's woo. Yeah. You guys were just talking about Clemson, and when Notre Dame lost to Louisville, I thought, man, like Notre Dame and Clemson are very comparable right now. Like Clemson had the overtime loss. to Florida State. Notre Dame had the last second loss to Ohio State. And then Clemson had a night road loss where they got kind of dominated, at least on the scoreboard, right? They I think they kind of outplayed Duke in some respects, but they lost by 3 touchdowns, right? Kind of similar to the Notre Dame and Louisville, right? Where Notre Dame went on the road and got beat pretty good by an ACC opponent. And since then, we've seen them go in completely opposite directions, right? And Notre Dame had to go out there and play USC in a big game, in a big moment. They rose to that occasion. They didn't have a bye week. They didn't have any of that. They didn't have any of that benefit or anything. And they had to figure out a way, and they figured it out, and you have to give Marcus Freeman credit to where his team has took that adversity and they were able to build on that adversity and actually like they put together like a nice season now. They're sitting there at 7-2, favored to go 10-2, right? I like that's just a great response by Marcus Freeman and getting the players, back into the season and keeping them invested. We've seen the opposite happen for Dabo, right? Where it's just it's gone down. It's gone downwards. It's like you said that this game for them was a huge game, and they lost at NC State. NC State's not really a good football team, so that's tough. Jay Cordell, Steinmetz, thank you for the super chat. Cordell, make sure that we had.
He's got a question down.
Oh, he has a question. Okay, I want to make sure because sometimes the last time we had a super chat that came in without a question, it was just a super chat. Want to make sure the question comes in. So I'm going to get to your question here, Jay Cordell, Steinmetz. What do you think of old Hartman this year? What do you think of Hartman this year? Sorry, not old Hartman. What do you think of Hartman? So the context of that question is coming in on the heels of the fact that the first interception is a poorly executed play. Right now, I don't know. It's a bad ball given the way that Flores was running the route. Right, like it needed to be over the top. I don't know if Hartman wanted Flores to flatten out on that post route, but whatever it was a bad pass given the way that Flores ran. The second interception, Jason Garrett called an RPO. I can't believe he can't diagnose this live. It clearly was not an RPO. Like the whole line is pass blocking.
They're blocking. Right? It's a play action.
RPO, yeah, it's a play action pass. Like RPO plays, it's actually a run play, right? So you will get run action from the line. You will get run action from the running back. You didn't get any of that. I didn't think the concept of the play was awesome.
No.
It just didn't allow for anything. If the linebackers were just sitting there, that wasn't good, but obviously not a very good decision by Hartman there. And I think that's where that's the context for that question. So what do you think about that?
Well, okay, just on that one play too. My guess is that Parker just thought that he was getting blitz there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
He just assumed he was getting blitz. Because and that's just what he thought was going to happen, and that's why he thought that was going to be. I mean, it still would have been even if that wasn't, even if those guys did blitz, it still would have been a really tough throw because the coverage was good. Like it was like he wasn't really open. It would have had to have been just like a perfect throw. But with those linebackers sitting back, I mean, that's a ball that I think that Hartman's just got to throw away.
Yeah,
like he's got.
It's got to go over. It's got to go over everybody.
Got to go over just whatever. You know, you're throwing into the stands basically.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the thing, was that you've seen that with Hartman. I think early on in the year, he made some of those throws, and they didn't get picked. You know, so even though he had no picks early in the year, it's a little bit misleading because there's some of the balls that should have been picked probably, or like, you know, bounce here, bounce there would have been picked. Right. So he's kind of made those kind of decisions, you know, more often than you'd like. So that's what I would say about Hartman. That's the big downside with Hartman, is that he's made some poor decisions in those kind of situations where it's like, you got to live to fight another day. You got to hit a check down. I mean, obviously that play, there wasn't really a check down, but like on a lot of times you got to be able to do that more. And that's also too, that's also why I would say if you look at NFL quarterbacks, one of the things is like all of like the best guys, they always just say, it's not there, check it down, like check it down, whatever, right? And like, don't keep looking for the big thing. And that's just not really Hartman's mentality, which can be good, but it can also be bad, right? And I think Hartman is kind of, I mean, he's clearly been a major upgrade on what they had last year. There's no doubt about that. He's definitely done a lot of good things this year. And, you know, he's made some really, really like big time impressive throws. But at the same time, you kind of realize he is like a very good quarterback, but I just think he's just not elite. You know, he's not at that next level. So that's kind of what I think about him, is that he's like a very, very good quarterback that helped, you know, it certainly helped Notre Dame's offense be better this year. But I don't really see him as a guy that he just straight up was going to elevate all these other pieces. You know, so that's kind of how I had put his year, is like he's made the offense better, not necessarily elevated other players on the offense.
Yeah. I'm going to respond to that in a second, but Bob Duato, thank you for the super chat. Southern Cal losing the Cal. Michigan-esque scheduling for SoCal to feast on these weak directional schools. Yeah, Southern Cal. It's taking a shot. It's they're down 14 now, Jamie. Got 43 points on the board.
Hey, that's an all-time super chat. Great job.
That
Bob.
is an all-time super chat from Bob. Good job by you, Bob. All right. Here's the thing. I texted you guys this. We do have to understand, like, while the game was in the first half, the wide receiver snaps, not slot snaps, but wide receiver snaps, I think 90% of them went to Flores and Greathouse. Jaden Thomas, clearly still not healthy. What are they doing, Jamie, with that? What are they doing? Throwing him out there. He is limping around with a hamstring. What? Like, why are they doing that? He looked good early, but he's clearly not healthy.
When he pulled up there,
you send him deep. You just can't have that. So you have those two guys. They're running 90% of the snaps at the wide receiver position. Like, that is, they're true freshmen. You're asking a lot of them. It's just not conducive to just like a really good passing game. It just isn't. They're not speed guys. You know, they're good route runners. They're good on the ball, right? They're good at the point of the catch. And so it's not like they shouldn't play at all. It's not even like it's not even a criticism. It's just a fact. Like, I think it's practical. Like, Notre Dame they can't have an explosive offense with that. And it's very difficult for Hartman to operate under those circumstances, right? It's hard for Parker to really call plays that you feel like, like we can get over on the defense. The play that he ran where Tobias catches a 42-yarder, like, that is the type of thing where you run play action, you put the safety in an absolute bind. He has to choose. Phase on, cooks his guy off the line. The safety has to pick him up. And then Merriweather cooks his guy, and he's wide open. And, like, that's the kind of thing where it's like, that's it right there. Like, that's what Notre Dame needs. And that's why I think they gave Tobias, you know, so many snaps early, because that's the element that you need.
They need it.
You know, you just have to have that to open up everything else. Tobias only got 3 snaps in the first half. That's not okay to me. It isn't. Like, you have to keep him involved just because of what we saw there in that second half. Like, that is there. You have to try to hit it. Even if you don't hit it, you have to try to hit it. Right? Because what are you doing otherwise? You know what I mean? Like, if you don't hit that, well, then what happens? You're having drive stall anyway. So you have to try for that stuff. You have to try to keep him involved. I didn't like that. And obviously in the second half, it blows up a lot more. I do think we should highlight Chris Tyree. I mean, just absolutely amazing on the punt return. I mean, that's everything you want, right? It's just catch it, make a couple moves, break tackles up the field. Like, it's everything you want. The catch on the long ball I mean, that is the quintessential, senior stepping up and saying, like, I'm going to step up for this team. We need something at wide receiver. You step up. I mean, it's great to see. Hopefully that can continue there. But what was your take on that, Jamie? Chris Tyree stuff.
I mean, that was like a Tom Zibikowski type of breaking
Joey
tackles.
Getherall, like shades, like kind of a fearless play.
Incredible job by him. And like, I made the joke that it was like he broke more tackles on that play than he did all of last season, which I think it's kind of close. Like,
yeah,
but
CFB Hertz put it in the super chat.
Yeah, it really just was an amazing play. But I think the catch was like just as impressive.
Yeah,
because that ball literally went right through the hands of the other, the safety coming over the top, and like that's just so hard to concentrate and get that. And that was like the over the shoulder. That was a much tougher catch than the one he dropped against Louisville. Like, and really, by the way, that one he dropped against Louisville, I believe that's his only drop of the year. Like, incredible for a guy to make the switch over to receiver and do this kind of thing. I think the only complaint is just be like, get him the ball more. Like, I just think it's just when you just see that, but now you're just starting to see that with guys where, Mike mentioned JD Price, and like, I mean, he's got to get to more touches. Like, and it's like, well, Jeremiah Love, I mean, you still like to get him a lot of touches. And, I think Faison, he looks pretty darn good, like, just, you want to get him. You want to take those shots with Tobias. Right. And obviously, like, the one thing I would say, it would be nice to get Jaden Greathouse a little bit back more involved in everything. That would be nice for them to do. But I think it's okay if you have enough of these other kind of pieces that are doing it. I thought he blocked really well, by the way. Jaden Greathouse made a couple of blocks. But I would just say that I think it's going to be absolutely crucial for them in this Clemson game to get those kind of explosive plays, whether that's, Tyree taking a shot to Tyree, taking a shot to Tobias, whether it's the play action, after the catch play to Flores, which, I mean, that was just something, to me, here's Jared Parker deserves absolute credit. I thought Jared Parker, I'll say in this game, he clearly made adjustments over the bye.
They did a lot more RPO stuff today. Yeah, 100%.
A lot more RPOs, more play action, attack the perimeter, didn't get stuck on just doing it. Ran. I mean, I was like, did this guy see my tweet thread of like, running at them? Like, they ran more ISOs, more duo. Once it got in the red zone, like more duo. Like, I mean, maybe it's just obvious and they're just doing it, but just like, I just thought that they were just so much smarter about what they did, because it was like, teams just know that's the strength. It works into the strength of your team. And it's also going against what Pitt does well. And even the play, okay, so they had the one play where it was like a tackle for loss for on JD Price, right? They're running an outside zone. And I mentioned on Twitter too, like, that was a play that they were obviously like keyed up. I've never seen a defensive tackle sprint outside like that on that play, like right at the snap. Like, he wasn't reading off of the guard, like Spindler. So it's like, it's easy to say like, man, Spindler really screwed that up. It's like, no, that guy like knew that play was coming and he made a great play on that play because of it. But it's the same kind of thing. They ran boot off of outside zone. And then that's why it was so wide open, because you could see the linebackers flowed so hard. Like, they were just like downhill in a hurry. And that was the thing too, is that their safeties were just hitting downhill and they took advantage of it. Like, you have to kind of give credit where credit's due. Like, Pitt had not given up over 6 yards per play this year to anyone. Everyone they've held under 6. Notre Dame had over 8 yards per play. Like, I mean, that's not nothing, right? Like, So yeah, there's still some things like you could pick out like a bunch of calls or certain things that you didn't like about the game. But I mean, easily, I thought this was like the best game in like a month for Jared Parker.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul Mahar for the super chat. That's very nice of you. It doesn't look like you have a question. I'm going to scroll. If you did have a question, I will find it and I'll put it up there. But thank you very much for that. A couple of things from the press conference. Marcus Freeman didn't elaborate on the injury to Mitchell Evans. He didn't say he didn't say if it was a knee, ankle, or what it was, which is not good. To me, he does know. There's no way he doesn't know. So something's up. It looked like a hyperextension. Yeah, it's definitely a knee. It looked like a hyperextension as well. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's something else. I don't want to speculate too much, but the fact that he's saying, I don't know what it is, like that concerns me because he definitely knows. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of that. I guess Hart, something with the forearm. Ben Morrison, I guess, tweaked his quad or pulled his quad last week during the bye. So that's what's going on there. I guess it was a game time decision. So we'll see if he's good to go against Clemson. And I don't want to now getting back to Parker. So I didn't really tweet anything about his play calling or anything like that in the game. At least I don't think I did. Because I didn't think it was that bad. I do think that they were, I don't use the word sloppy. Their execution level just wasn't really what you want in the first half. And like, that's kind of what happens when you try to install kind of some new things over the break when you have it, like things like RPO stuff, right? Like you're installing all these things that you haven't been doing. We're not going to be as good at it because you haven't been running.
You haven't been repping it. You haven't been
repping it all year, and you're not really repping it that hard. Not like you would be in fall camp over the bye. So that's why. But I thought some of the ideas were better, right? I thought the ideas were good. So I mean, to me, at least that's like they're on the right track with that stuff, and I think that matters. I really do. It matters a lot. You want to have the right idea on what to do, because look, this game will count towards reps and getting used to that, right? And getting used to the things that you need to do. Lets the players see it on tape, and it allows them to then, okay, we saw it on tape, we're going to now execute it, and we repped it in the game in a live situation against a good defense, right? It wasn't a great defense. I think they were 19th SP plus in the nation defensively for Pitt. So it's a solid defense, right? Like you said, they hadn't given up more than 6 yards per play all year, and Notre Dame puts up 8.2 yards per play in this game. So it's good. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in too, because last 4 games too, because they've been playing better as the season's going along, even though like their competition has been getting better too. Like they had 20.6% havoc rate in the last 4 games, which is elite. And it was only 10.8% in this game. So, I mean, you could say early those picks, it was like, oh my gosh, is this where it's going? But outside of those picks, and Deion Hayes made a nice like tackle for loss early in the game. They didn't really have a lot of that. They just didn't really have a lot of that kind of stuff there. And I mean, to be fair to their defense too, like, I mean, how disheartening would it be to play with that offense? Like, ugly.
Tough. You hate to see that.
Yeah.
Paul Mahar says, give the thumbs up for the show. So hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. And because it helps the show, right? It helps the show. So definitely do that for us. But yeah, CFB Hertz says, more positive take on the offense than I had. Hope you guys are right. That was my impression. To me, it was like, hey, they're trying the right things. The good news about the turnovers is that every time they turned it over, it was an interception or it was the failed 4th down. Like they were still moving the ball. Yeah. There are no 3 and outs in this game. Like they weren't just completely stymied, right? Like they they had some good ideas, and I think it's gonna be fun for me to break down this game and look at the tape and I think it'll be fun for you as well. It's like, hey, I think we've seen some positive things there. And it's good to break down the tape. It's good to add tape, Jamie. It's good to have good media. It's good to have good videos. And one way for you to do that, if you want a video of your engagement or a highlight reel or something for your business on social media, then what you need to do is you need to head up vsrmediacompany.com, which is founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Jamie, we did Irish Sports Daily. We hit up VSR Media because I needed a new intro for our new podcast, Joyce Lot, with Dara Mabry, Dimes with Dara, and Vahid hooked it up. And he gave us an incredible intro, and I encourage everyone to check that out. Another reason why, Jamie, you want to subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot of good things going on. Lee Weaver says 500 plus yards of total offense. That's good. That is good, Jamie. Any other takeaways from this game offensively? I just think that there's really something there with when you have Tobias out there with Faison in the slot, especially. Like, I really love that trips formation that they put out there. That was the one that they hit Louisville for the touchdown with Tyree and Faison in the slot in the trips. I just think that's a really good formation for Notre Dame to pass the ball and go play action and really hurt teams with that. It was something I really enjoyed from this game. I worry, like you said about Greathouse, like I do worry a little bit about, like, I don't think having him outside is the way to go in terms of getting the most out of him. But if Jaden Thomas is not going to be healthy, then I guess that's something that
they really don't have a choice, I don't think. Yeah,
they're going to have to do that. If Evans is not playing, I think that's going to hurt them as far as.
Yeah, that was a huge loss if he's not playing.
Yeah, from a run blocking point of view. I think the drop off isn't like tremendous, but obviously it's enough, right? Like, Evans is a very, very key player for them. But any other takeaways from you for the offense today?
Yeah, I just think that if you're looking at if you take away the baggage from the rest of the season and you just looked at this game, I think you'd say it was a pretty good, day for the offense, right? Like coaching and playing wise, I think you would look at that overall. And that's just kind of like, I mean, there's definitely things that I like. I am, like you mentioned, I'm excited to go back and look at more of it. But I really liked what they did for most of the game. And it certainly was, it could have been so much worse. Like I was worried that it was going to be bad. It was going to be bad, but I thought the approach to this game was good. And I think I would say there's some stuff in this game that I think could end up being more part of the identity of what they are the rest of the season, which is good because I think it's absolutely necessary. Like, just even some of the tempo stuff, like they went tempo more often.
Yeah.
I think that's important. Like, you got to mix it up more. That's the other thing. It's like one of these things to say, like, yeah, we like to be able to mix it up, but when you never mix it up, that's not a good thing. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that, it's nothing to write home about, but it was a good overall performance.
Yeah. Let's see. Larry Solomoni. Nitpicking, but that fourth down play was bad. No route to beat the blitz over the middle. My life for a hot route, Jamie. I just just go hot. It's just like slant over the middle.
That's got to be like sight adjustment right there.
Right, like
right? That's got to
for
be sight
sure
adjustment.
on the off. But the receiver, like Tyree, didn't run. He ran like almost like a not a skinny post, but like it was a 10-yard post basically. And it's like that's too late. It's got to be.
He would have had to just throw it up, and it would have been like
yeah. It just wasn't. I just didn't think they had a good plan for that, and they haven't against the blitz. Like I just haven't seen them throw hot in one of those situations. Matthew Savers, thank you for the super chat. Love the content, boys. Keep it up. I appreciate that, Matthew. That's awesome. We greatly appreciate that contribution to our show. So thank you very much for being here. Do you want to get into the end of half situation?
No, I mean we can if you want, but I just don't really. I know you and Mike and Christian were upset about it. Like Freeman blew the game or whatever. Like not blew the game, but we're like basically like if this was a different game, and I'm like he played it so they wouldn't get a possession at the end of the half because they were gonna get it. Like I get it. Like he could have called the timeout sooner, and rather than let it go all the way down. Sure. I think he could have done that. But outside of that, I had no problem. Like I thought that was smart to run it down to where it was based on how it's been. Like so I don't know. I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't think it was a big deal at all. And I would have had more questions if they went quick. Like it certainly wasn't the worst case scenario for a coaching decision.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was that big of a deal.
So if it was like USC or something or Ohio State, then yeah, maybe run it down. But so I was like, okay, were you afraid of Pitt doing anything at that point?
No, but I mean, it's still it's still 14-0. You know what I mean? All it takes is just one missed tackle on a thing. And then, a guy like Pitt, I mean, Bob Means isn't a unbelievable player, but he's got a bunch of 50-yard plays this year, right? All it takes is just one play where he gets it, and you still have you just went from the thing where Mickey got beat on a double move. I don't know, I get it. I don't really think it was I get I would have got it the either way if they did it, so I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was smart.
So I obviously didn't think it was smart because you do getting CFB Hart says getting a fresh set of downs is a low probability situation. That's true in a vacuum. But if I'm Pitt, the play they threw to Greathouse, absolutely just grab him, just tackle him, right? Because they're going to run out of time. There's no way they're going to you are basically, I would have, if I was Narduzzi and they did the thing, it's hey, if they run a route and they're doing anything that's running by you, just tackle them because they're going to run out of time. Eventually, they're just going to kick a field goal. They're going to kick a field goal anyway. That's you want to take that away. The other part was I really didn't like running the ball after they called it the first time out. It was interesting.
Didn't like that call.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't like them calling timeout when they did the first time. I thought then if you're going to run it down then, and then preserve your one timeout. You know what I'm saying? Preserve your one timeout, then you have 2 downs at that point. I didn't like running it and then running it down. I thought that was a bad decision. It was one of those things a field goal was in that moment was good because it took you from 2 scores up to 3 scores up, right? So, and that matters, right? And I tweeted that. The fact is they went up from up 14 up 17. That's important in a close game, right? And obviously it became moot very early in the third quarter, and it wasn't a big deal. I kind of wish someone had asked him about that because I would like his thought process. I would like to know how he. I'm
sure someone will ask on Monday.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't want to go in on Twitter because I was it's not that big a deal. They did they did get points. You do need to get points in that situation. It would have been a lot worse if it was like they tried to fit in like another play somehow, and they ended up running out of time and then getting kick a field goal at all. Like that would have been a total disaster.
That would have been a disaster. Yeah.
Right. That would have been really bad. But I think that given the way that Pitt was moving the ball and the way that Notre Dame's defense was playing, like going up 3 scores was the priority in that situation there. So Notre Dame is going to Clemson next weekend, noon kick, which is terrific for me, Jamie. It's the greatest outcome just because of the soccer schedule next week and where everything falls. I really just needed it. Like a 12:30 kick for me or a 3:30 kick. It would just been bad. So this way I can watch the game. We can do the post game, and then I can go to soccer. So that is very, very important. Matthew Severs says Caleb is stripped. We're live. People are live chatting the game here. Last I saw it was tied at 43. Let me check. Caleb's stripped. So Cal has the ball in the USC 42 with 5:35 left, tied at 43. That's just unbelievable, Jamie. This team. It's like it's one of these things where we continue to reference USC as like a good win. If they lose to Cal, then it's like, what was this season really? Like it's a close loss to Ohio State and then a bunch of wins against teams that are just kind of not great.
They still got tough games in the schedule. Like this was supposed to be their easy game, and the last back half.
If they lose this game, you're staring at. 3 more. You could have 3 more. They could be staring at 6-6, Jamie. Truly, they could lose. They could go like 0-6 after starting 6-0. Like that is in play if they lose this game.
It's very Helton-esque right now.
Clay Helton never did that. Like that is
no. They had some collapses, whatever. Well, not even Helton. I would say from Kiffin, Sark, whatever. Like back half of the season collapses. Like that was very much like a USC staple. That has been a USC staple since Pete Carroll left, right? So because this is the other thing too, where I'm just gonna say this again. The transfer portal, it looks great when Keon Coleman comes in and he's balling, right? And he's just unbelievable, and he's this huge impact guy. And that's great, right? It's worked out for Florida State. By the way, the Pac-12 much better than the ACC as a conference. So it's insane that the Pac-12 is going away and the ACC is just we'll take Stanford and Cal.
We'll take Stanford and Cal. Let's go.
And SMU just going to come here for free. Like, all right. But you look at where USC is, and they've taken all these guys, specifically on defense. And obviously they've had guys worked out. They got Caleb Williams. I think that was pretty good pickup, but Mario Williams was supposed to be this great stud. Hasn't been. Dorian Singer, supposed to be the guy to replace Jordan Addison, who obviously was a good pickup. Hasn't worked out. The O-line guys that they picked up to kind of fill in the gaps. Hasn't worked out. Their line sucks. All these guys on defense that they brought in, to be really good players. And they had the one corner from Colorado last year who was a stud. He was a really, really good player. And, CFB Hurts brought up Bear Alexander. Yeah, he's been a good player for them, for sure. And they've have other guys who are good players. But the problem is that you bring in so many guys, and when so many parts of your team they brought in so many guys again in back-to-back years, that guys who were starters last year, and fair enough, they weren't good players for USC. They're backups now. So they're still there. And then the defense still sucks. So they're like, it's just, that is not good for culture. It's just not good when you have guys that you brought in that end up being bad, right? That end up being bad and then end up getting beat out for a starting job. And then you're bringing mercenaries that aren't working out, and then guys who get passed by other people. Like, it's just not good. Like, even if they win this game, or even if they were to say to win out, it's still like you had Caleb Williams and this is what happened, right? Like, it's not a good outcome for USC. It's not going good for good old Lincoln Riley there. Like he hasn't handled it well.
Yeah, and it's like, look, USC just scored, by the way. It's 50-43. The thing is like, and this is where a team like Notre Dame, like, look, you want to supplement with transfers, right? But it's like you can't have your entire team just like because they're not recruiting very well. They're not. And Lincoln Riley's comments about recruiting in California were like not great, like not a good idea, in my opinion. Really but it's bad. Like it's like when your whole model is basically like taking mercenaries from other teams, like year over year, like you're going to get a season like this where it's like it doesn't really gel. And like you said, Dorian Singer, like he has 3 catches for 9 yards in this game. He was a 1,000-yard receiver for Arizona last year.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work out. And that's why you want to, you want to have like an actual program. And that's what Marcus Freeman is trying to build. So I think we can leave it there. Jamie, we'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. Wait. We got one more super chat. Nicholas Laverio. Thank you for that. I think part of the problem this year is Hartman isn't great at play action passing, and I still don't think he's great at dissecting a defense. Stems from running slow mesh. I think there's something to that, Jamie. I do. I think there's definitely something.
Definitely have talked about that.
It's not so much the play action passing. I think there's a wide receiver problem for Notre Dame. I think it's a confluence of variables. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are working against him, Parker, and the offense, and it's really slowed the development of that entire unit. And unfortunately, that sort of thing plays out in real time during a season. There's just it's just hard to troubleshoot something like that once the year starts, and especially when you have injuries to Deion Colsey and Jaden Thomas, and you got to start over from scratch. So thank you for the super chat there, Nicholas. All right, I'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific time on the Morning After Recap show. I'm going to watch a lot of film tonight, so there's going to be a lot on that. Jamie is going to be doing his instant analysis. He's going to have a Film Don't Lie that comes out throughout the week, so you're going to want to check that out. Check out irasportsdaily.com for all of your post-game information, and from Matt and from Drew Mentok, who's always writing stories. Thanks for the post-game vid. Thank you, TD4ND. Notre Dame 58, Pitt 7. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. We will talk to you tomorrow morning. Keep hitting and hustling.